Citizens of the Empire, please prepare for our last and final bout with audio citizens to enlighten us and inculcate us and maybe even indoctrinate us into the wide, wide world of audio. So my job as your tour guide is to try to keep things vaguely off the rails. And then at the end of this fine production will be to ask you to provide the content and questions. So we are outsourcing the questions for you, so start cogitating and come up with some good ones for us. And they will all be produced on the golden microphone. Not to be confused with the golden record, which my mother is on, actually. In case anybody has been living under a rock or on an extended acid trip, I would like to read a little bit about these fine gentlemen over here. Please excuse my reading. It's fundamental. I would like you to read quietly to yourself while I read aloud. Rafa Sardina, a Spaniard by birth but a citizen of the globe by heart. Rafa has won 19 combined Latin and traditional Grammys. He has worked in pop, rock, with Stevie Wonder, Lady Gaga, Michael Jackson, the Rolling Stones, R&B, soul with Angelo, Macy, Gray, Angie Stone, in Latin with Luis Miguel, Alejandro Sanz, Calle 13, and in classical with Plácido Domingo. In top secret news, hot off the press, I don't know if this is still true. Actually, I'm going to skip that part. It's very top secret. Rafa is a producer and engineer whose work bridges cultures, genres, and musical traditions. Known for his ability to blend modern production with deep respect for the musical heritage, Rafa brings a global perspective to record making. His approach emphasizes feel, identity, storytelling, ensuring that modern records retain their human core. Big round of applause.
Thank you.
All right. Richard Devine. He is a brother for well over a decade now. He doesn't understand boundaries, and thus is utterly diversified. He is a sound designer, engineer, songwriter, performer. He has created solutions for the most enviable and impenetrable companies like BMW, Jaguar, Apple, Google, Nike, Coca-Cola, Microsoft, Sony, and of course, he helped out our tiny industry brands like Dangerous Music. You can just as easily find him in a swamp recording alligators or developing the sonics for games like Halo, Doom, Cyberpunk 2077. He currently holds the senior content producer for audio music application at Apple. Richard is a sound designer, composer, and sonic explorer whose work exists far beyond the traditional genre of boundaries. Known for creating entirely new sonic worlds from scratch, Richard approaches sound as raw material rather than decoration. His work spans music, technology, experimental art, constantly challenging what sound can be and how it is experienced. If you want weird shit, you call him. And he delivers. Big round of applause. All right. Luca Pretolesi, my brother from a different Italian mother. Look at this man. For over a decade, we've been hanging out. Finally got to work together on a plug-in collaboration. It was so much fun. More to come. Keep your eyes peeled and your ears peeled. He is one, if not the most sought-after producers in the EDM world, having won Grammys and shaping the sound of modern EDM for over the past 2 decades. Luca's worked with the who's who of the industry, including Diplo, Steve Aoki, Skrillex, and diversifying with Drake and J Balvin. His work represents a fusion of technical mastery and musical intent at the highest level. I tell you, this guy is one of the few people I know in the industry that reads manuals and tells you if you fucked something up. So, big round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Okay. So how do you guys deal with a project if it does not excite you?
Seriously? That's the first question?
we're starting with a softball here.
That's the first question. Oh, God. I can tell you didn't want to answer.
Yeah, I'll start with this.
Okay.
So, first of all, I have a real deep passion for the tech side of what we do, nerdy of things, where when I not necessarily love the song, but I love the process of working on the song, regardless of the actual song content. I'm not there to make a decision if it's a good song or not. I'm there to elevate, amplify the message. Make sense as the answer?
You're translating the song.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I do agree. And sometimes it really becomes like a very good challenge in terms of finding the one thing that becomes special about the song.
The snare drum sounds so good.
But seriously, I mean, you find the key of the song, like kind of like what's the key aspect that can make it better, like you said, like elevate it, even if you don't like the song, but you enjoy the process of being able to do that. You know, even if you don't love the song, you might actually even hate the song, but somehow something about it you don't hate anymore. You actually love the process and love like being able to achieve, you know, something with it.
Yeah, like Luca was saying, I've always approached it as kind of learning. It's, you know, like you're saying, even if it's a song you don't like working on, or it's a project that you may not enjoy, you're still going to come out the other side learning something about yourself and learning new techniques or something that you would have, maybe it's kind of maybe stepping out of your wheelhouse for a second, you know, or working on a style that you're not familiar with mixing or engineering. And I've always come out the other side going, I didn't realize I was capable of doing that. And all it took was saying, hey, just showing up and just making an effort and taking a try. And at the end of that process, I always come out the other end going, hey, I didn't know I could do that, but now I can do it, you know? So it's, you know, I never try to look at it as a negative thing. I try to just look at it as like, you know, maybe I'll try some different techniques, try some new technologies to solve problems, to reach the end goal, which is ultimately make a great piece of music, like Luca said, you know, elevate it, you know, amplify it, or make it, enhance it in some way, to where the listener experiences it in a different light, where they're like, whoa, this is really grabbing me and taking me somewhere, you know. So.
And I liked what you said about expanding yourself, even like this would just be an experience to improve yourself.
That's yourself, cool. Yeah. It's even if it's something it's like I said, it might be not in your wheelhouse, like your style of music that you mix in, you know, or you know you're familiar with. I always come out learning something about myself that I didn't know that I could do before, you know, and it surprises me.
Okay, what about who is a living artist that you guys, or project or company that you guys would like to work with?
Peter Gabriel. I've always been like the hugest fan. You know?
Elliot Shiner told me the same thing.
And he's like, dude, I mean, I would love to. Actually, I just worked at his studio this past year. And yet place. Knowing his space was actually very special. Just knowing his space, you know, his creative space, to me was like very enlightening, you know, like, okay. Because you learn something about the character and his process, and also was able to visit his private studio and see that, okay, this is how where he feels comfortable. You know, you learn something about his flow somehow. Yeah.
I walk in the live room and they've got this wheeling staircase like you'd have at Home Depot, like this big sort of steps on wheels in the live room, and I go, what's that? And it's like a little platform at the top.
Yes.
And the guy says, Peter likes to record beneath the drums at times. Yeah, and that's why he's Peter Gabriel, and I'm nobody. All right.
Well, in my case, it just go back to when I was start working as an engineer. I was deeply passionate about Depeche Mode and all that area, and then I never had a chance to work on Depeche Mode. And then if you say, hey, there's something make you feel really happy, it's like work on Depeche Mode. I mean, that's, you know, goes back again on something that when I was 16 years old and try to understand.
It's the songs and so you remember this recollection that's exciting to
Correct.
you, that moves you emotionally.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Depeche Mode is definitely up there in my top 10. Absolutely. For me, I would say it would be Aphex Twin was probably. And I did get a chance.
I was literally about to say, I was mentally say between Aphex Twin and Depeche Mode.
It was hard.
Crazy.
It's hard between, yeah.
Okay.
Because the sheer innovation, I was also signed to the same record label as Richard James back in 2001. So Warp Records was the first record label that signed my first record deal, which was kind of crazy because when I was 16 going to the record shop, I got Aphex Twin's record and I was like, oh my God, he is making some of the most futuristic, out-of-the-box music I've ever heard anyone make. And you could still go back and listen to his early records like the Selected Ambient Works and RNS and his first records on Warp. And the things he was doing rhythmically, things he was doing with melodies were so far advanced at that time. And nobody was doing really pushing the limits of what you could do musically in a music composition. And funny enough, 10 years later, they ended up releasing my first album, and I got to briefly work with Richard and do a remix of one of his big songs on a compilation. And but it would have been really fun to work with him, like personally, in a collaborative, like situation where we worked on an EP together, like he did with Tom Jenkinson and several others. And he's always been a big inspiration to me. He's always been a person that wasn't afraid to take risk, no matter what people thought about his decision making. And he always could mess with the press and be like, I'm only going to do this interview if we can do it in a helicopter flying over the London Bridge, or we could do it in my tank. He bought a tank one time and had like Enemy magazine sit in his tank with him and do this interview. He would always do these crazy things that were just really oddball, just to kind of mess with the press. But yeah, he was a huge influence, and if I would had the chance to sit down and work with somebody, I feel he's a real innovator.
Love it.
Yeah.
How about a space? How about a place? Doesn't have to be a studio. Could be anything. Could be some wild hall or castle. Or is there a space or a place that you guys would love to work in?
Main floor at NAMM. That will be a perfect place to cut an album.
You like
in the middle of all these.
You like the vibration here?
Yeah, all of it. We love it.
The cacophony. Think about how you could turn this into an advantage in your mix.
Yes.
How do you turn the negative into a positive? The cacophony of NAMM.
Well, I would love to be in Sardinia, where actually I own a house and I spend time, with the acoustic of my room that I have in Vegas, that is flat, plus or minus 0.5. With that, in Sardinia, in nature, close to the sea. I mean, it'd be amazing.
We're in Sardinia.
Where in Sardinia?
Where in Sardinia are you?
It's called St. Peter Island. It's down next to Cagliari, like 45 minutes from Cagliari.
Yeah.
And it's a small island. It's called St. Peter Island. Isola di San Pietro. And and my wife's actually family there also.
I have
there.
to go one day. Yeah, and my last name is Sardina.
Exactly. It's close to the blue zone.
Yes.
And people live like till 100, and then it's like the biggest concentration of centenarian in the world.
Wow.
So
the ocean there looks gorgeous.
It's unbelievable.
The aqua blue waters.
It's amazing. Yeah, I can talk about this for hours. It's amazing. Yeah.
I'm dying to go.
Well, keep mixing those records, and then you can build another facility.
There we go.
So,
Richard,
I will be in his Sardinia, his studio. Once he builds it.
You're raising your hand. I see this.
Yeah. I've only seen pictures. I had a friend of mine that was trying to invite me to play a show there. That didn't end up working out, that I met in Tokyo. But when I saw pictures of where he lived, I was like, oh my God, I have to go there. Yeah. I don't know. I think any place. I have a lot of friends that have been moving to Portugal lately. Have been setting up studios in Lisbon and Porto, like on the coast too, of Portugal. And my friend Alessandro Cortini plays keyboards in Nine Inch Nails, and my friend Alex Boys Noise, who's a good producer friend of mine. They all live in are starting to move to Portugal, and the climate's always nice there. Good surfing, beautiful beaches, great food, cuisine.
Cost of living and quality of life is supposed to be.
Amazing.
I have a lot of friends moving there also. Ironically,
so my dream would be to build a really nice house there on like 6 acres of land. Like Alessandro, my friend Alessandro, he built his studio recently there, and he's got like 6 acres on palm trees. He's got a swimming pool and beautiful view of the ocean. I'm like, that would be the perfect ideal.
Well, I hope we're all going to be invited. So.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Okay, when you're working on a project, who are you answering to? Who's the boss? Is it the artist? Is it the producer? Is it the record company? Is it the success of the record, the commercial success? Is it the, who?
It's all of the above, but ultimately it's the artist who is the creator, right? He's the boss. I mean, his songs are the reason why we're doing this. So, and I guess that sometimes we have too much pressure from many places. Sometimes somebody is always not happy. Somebody's always, or somebody, I won't say not happy, but always somebody has a different agenda than what the song and the artist, ask for, So those are kind of like the challenges that we face. But ultimately, to me, it's the artist and the song. And obviously, we have to take care of, the commercial aspect to make sure, okay, we are serving in the best possible way, and we kind of like guarantee is gonna have a chance of, of being successful, whichever way you define that, because it's different for different people. Also, that's the nuance that you have to really pay attention to, because you can really miss the point if you only consider success to be one specific thing.
Well, that's
it really
kind of
is a moving target, depending on the client.
That's what I'm kind of asking too. So how do you gauge that? So the client, how do you know? Because a lot of time, does the client do they know? Do they tell you the truth?
No, but in between lines, so they reveal, what their real desires are, or where their heart is. Yeah. Even when they're telling you just the opposite or something completely different, but as soon as, that's why I think it's so important to hang with your clients a little bit, at least a little bit, and to become a little bit close to them. Otherwise, you are never going to understand. You're going to miss the point. It's like, being absent.
I agree 100%. So the A&R of the label might be changed, might be get fired, might be another one. The artist not get fired, right? It's him. So I will say the artist. Now, the artist, usually you need to build the relationship. You go outside of like, I want the kick drum 1 dB louder, I want the vocal. And the relationship should be like trust and really take care about him. And ultimately, we don't want to forget that ultimate for everybody is the face of the artist, not us that we work on backstage, technically, right? So, and normally what I usually like to do with the artist, at the beginning, ask a lot of questions. I'm not worried about him get annoyed by me asking questions. And the purpose of asking questions is really to create a sync. And we invest on one song to create this sync between us, and then we're going to benefit of the rest of his career. Usually we like to use the first song of that album to really understand certain things. And now we get in sync and we go kind of on autopilot. But I would say the artist 100%. In my case, artist is also maybe the DJ, a touring DJ, a producer. But the label, I want the label to support. I don't want the label to dictate a relationship between myself and the artist, so potentially the artist. And I open myself to the artist right away about, I'm working to elevate your vision. I'm not working to force you to change your vision, which is very important as well.
Yeah, that's very true. I'm kind of in the other side of that as an artist. Working with record labels, I've worked with record labels for like 25 years, and there was always battles I fought. Like the label has a vision, they want to sell a lot of units, they also want to make money, but they also want to support your vision and what you want and your record too. So sometimes, depending on the label, they see eye to eye with you and they let you creatively just do what you want to do and let you be you. And then I've worked with other labels where they didn't always meet eye to eye with me and my vision, and we're kind of like, well, if you kind of did this and maybe did this because this record did really well, and you could maybe lean a little into that, and I'd be like, that's not me though, and it was always a tough battle. It's like, yeah, I want to work with this label, but working with A&R people and stuff, and like I'm working with the press and marketing people and at the label, you knew you wanted to be successful, but you didn't want to. I never really wanted to compromise my art, for the sake of just selling more records, because at the end of the day for me, it wasn't about how many records I sold. I just wanted the record to come out exactly the way that I had created it and put all the effort into it, And it was like, this was my piece of art to the world that I'm releasing, and once you release it out, you can't take it back. So you got to feel really good about every decision that you did on every single track on that album before it gets out into the world. So, for me, it was always like a battle with me and the labels, not so much with the engineers and the mastering engineers and the people that I'd worked with. Those people were always happy to help me out, see my vision, and help me enhance that and make it the best it could be. But it was difficult times. I definitely dealt with some difficult people, not only in the record industry but also working in the commercial industry. When I worked on over 200 to 300 commercials, working with, like you said, hundreds of car companies and stuff. And I ran into a lot of interesting people in that industry. Some of them were very good, great to work with, and some of them were absolutely horrible to work with.
Well, let's talk about that. How do you guys feel about being fired from a project or a job? I mean, it happens, right?
In my case, I don't think technically happened. Somebody fired me. Happened maybe at the beginning. It was a relationship kind of forced to work instead of being like, and then I kind of give up in the sense of say, okay, I don't think it's the right investment of time from my side or your side. Especially in my case, I'm extremely busy. I mix every day, and then get stuck in one project. I'm not excited about the financial side. I'm excited. I want to be on a state of flow when I work. And sometimes when I feel forced in a relationship, thanks God happen maybe once every 2-3 years. It's not frequent, but I pull the plug and say, okay, I think you need somebody else. I'm not the right guy. Sometimes.
That's what happened with my record you were doing?
Yeah, right? Gonna say, Marek, I'm not your guy.
My sister fired me actually from a project, so I understand. How about you guys?
Even your own sister. Okay. I feel the same way as what he was mentioning is very true. I don't think I have ever been like truly fired from a project, but I've been creatively forced to depart or just say like, I don't want to work with you anymore. I mean, myself, I don't want to work with you anymore. And sometimes insecurity is the biggest baggage that anybody can bring to the studio, okay? And insecurity that forces you to go in circles, and it's like a nonsensical kind of process. And it's not good for anybody, not even good for the artist or the creator. It's kind of like, you should, they're actually punishing themselves, but you're part of that punishment in a way. They make you part of that. They make you like the punisher in a way also. So those are the kind of projects where you go like, oh shoot, maybe you committed to do the album, and after the third song you go like, I need to find a way to move on and not do the rest.
Extract yourself. Gracefully.
Gracefully. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Like, exactly. Like what you're saying. It's I worked with a lot of clients where, especially specifically in the advertising industry, where I was working with producers and stuff, where they had a vision. We're working for I remember working with Scion when they were first doing their first commercials, and I was working through, I think, 6-7 advertising music houses at the time, writing tracks, doing sound design for all these TV commercials and stuff. And if it was something that was out of my wheelhouse that I knew I wasn't going to be good at, I would always be like, you know what? I don't do orchestral stuff very well, but I can do very good modern electronic sounding cool high-tech stuff. So what I did to kind of compensate that was I kind of developed a voice that everybody knew in the industry. They knew that hey, Rich is really good at making high-tech, very futuristic sounds. So those companies and those agencies started to actually start to come to me after I won a couple Cannes Awards for several TV commercials I did for Nike, for Wieden and Kennedy. I remember I did their campaign one year, and I did work with Sony and a lot of really big companies where we won a bunch of awards for these commercials. Where I did the sound design, did all the music and all the mixing and everything, and over dialogue, and it was crazy. And, during the Super Bowl, I had a couple commercials that landed on the Super Bowl. If you made Super Bowl coverage, it was pretty big time. Working with the agency, it was pretty big budgets. It was a lot of pressure. I would always be, if I knew if it wasn't for me, I would pass it on to another composer friend or another person that I knew. It's like, hey, I know somebody that will nail this style and exactly give you what you want. it's just not for me. I knew right away, and I developed a niche that the industry knew already. They're like, so it helped me to develop that earlier on, so that I wouldn't run into these situations. So that I was gravitating.
You defined yourself. You find your role.
Your voice, right. So people knew before they even came to me, we know that this is the guy that we want because he's going to do exactly what we're looking for. He has the sound already that we're looking for. So as I progressed in my career, I never ran into a situation where I got fired. They were always like, hey, we want you to do you on this. Yeah. And I was like, this is perfect. That's really the perfect situation. But it took many, many years to develop that voice in that industry to where I was recognized as that person that they could come to. So that's kind of how I worked my way around that problem.
You defined yourself.
Defined myself in a reputation.
So what about you guys? Do you feel like you've driven your career path, or has your career path kind of created itself? Like, have you directed which way you've gone musically? And
somehow you drive your career path, because once you start choosing projects, being able to choose projects at the beginning, you're not able to choose much. Even though sometimes you do, but it's not as likely to happen, right? You need the work. You need to actually have a body of work that people can recognize and whatnot. That takes time. But once you start like choosing your projects a little bit, or choosing even the challenges that you want to take on. And for example, with me, I've been very eclectic. I've been going from pop or rock to even opera. I produce opera, or I've done other things that were like, or a lot of jazz. And at the beginning, I would have never guessed I would be doing any kind of like jazz music or big band or doing those kind of things. But I love music, and that has been the main factor that has driven me to take on those challenges, taking those risks, because obviously in this industry, there are specialists for everything. There are people who only do rock music, only do pop music,
or only do kick drums for rock music,
only do hip hop. And I've done, like, for example, in the last year I did like a hip hop album, and then I did a classical one, and I did this. So, and I truly enjoy it, because it forces me to just care about the music, and it's a huge challenge. And I don't know, I learned to just follow my instincts more than ever. I don't know, it forced me to do that.
But the question was, did you sort of feel like you're driving that diversity, or did it just sort of come to you?
By taking on those chances, I did. In my case, right? Even though my career is very all over the place, like very eclectic. So, but that's what I wanted. That's what I decided at some point. Yeah.
In my case, I'm very deeply attached to electronic music, just because I think that was my skills that in a not strategic moment when EDM was not big as now, I was putting all my effort with a passion of doing not for business. And then I success, just like, I think, like, build certain tracks that became kind of reference point on electronic music, on dance music, and those reference track became reference track for other producers, and those producers, they came to me to just keep going. So in my case, not strategic. Now moving forward, then I was able to expand in other style of music, but then keep the integrity of my approach. So my point was, like, when Drake decided to do an electronic album, it came to me not for me to try to mix an hip-hop album, but just to keep the integrity of my sound and apply it to him. So for me, it's not about mixing just that specific style, but the integrity and what I do best, and be able to apply it to other style. But I think I have a sound, and I'm very proud of what I did, in a sense that was not, again, strategically done. Say, okay, I'm gonna do this because it's gonna be the new big thing. It was just like, I do what I do best, what I feel more, So my approach as an engineer, I'm a listener first. I listen, I appreciate certain things, and have the technical understanding ability to achieve certain results, I think.
Where do you guys see yourself in 10 years?
Sardinia.
Exactly.
You've already told us.
No, seriously, I've been checking on it just like a week ago. I was actually checking on Sardinia.
Let's be in
There is
touch.
the city of San Rafael, the
Yes.
port up north. So
Yes. No. I'll give a lot of tips.
I'll give you
Sardinia.
Who knows? I might end up there too.
I see that. You've already developed a business
We're
model
gonna
right here.
create like the Sardinia, like a studio complex.
Yeah. Definitely cheaper than the U.S.
Yes.
I better get invited on this since it was my creation here that, that was the inception of it. So, all right. So I want to open this up to the floor.
Some nerdy question, guys.
Yep. So you can be as nerdy or as whatever. So don't be shy. Take the golden microphone. Ask a question. There's no silly question. They're all good questions. Look at this.
Yes.
Okay, good. This man's thinking. All right,
Love it.
very good. Look, this guy's writing down.
It's writing down.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
He has a question, I think.
Somebody's got a question. Oh, look at this. All right.
How do you deal with exceptionally needy clients?
Matter of personality. I mean, I don't know. As a professional, you can be the enabler or just the opposite. Okay, and it's about how to manage that. How to be witty enough to, just jokingly. Sometimes you make a joke. You are playful in the studio, and sometimes it doesn't need to be confrontational at all when you need to stop some of those kind of attitudes. And keep in mind that almost like 99% of the time, when somebody is extremely needy, is because somebody is extremely insecure about absolutely everything, and that's normal. That's a normal behavior, a normal reaction. I mean, keep in mind they're dealing with their most intimate, things. Somebody's a creator, or even a performer. Not even if that person is not a creator, just a performance is a creation per se, right? So you have to be very careful how you approach it, but you have to do it in a playful enough way so that even if you say something extremely harsh to the artist, or you have an extremely harsh attitude towards what they're doing or how they're acting, is never interpreted as, how I call it, disrespectful.
Like, it's not rude.
It's not rude. It's like kind of like, I'm stopping you on your tracks, but I'm still your friend. I'm your best ally. Kind of thing. And we encounter that all the time, but it's pretty normal. I mean.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Hi. I always like to ask all kind of musical people, but how do you guys know that you're done with a song and you can walk away and you're finished with it? I know, especially with electronic music, it's a lot of sound, so
Good
you
question.
don't really have a hook verse thing, but yeah, how do you finish a song?
my mixing is 3 hours, and the way I say 3 hours, is because I have a workflow that I like to replicate over time, which is about 45 minutes between stereo bass and drums. Take a break, and I do about another hour on the synth. Take a break, about another hour on vocals, and then various things at the end. And if I go over 3 hours, this means I'm forcing something. And I work on my schedule always with 1 day gap. So if a client expects my mix on Friday, and then I'm finished Wednesday night, my Thursday is just to unplug my brain and go back as a listener when I listen my own mix and I write notes. So so to me, the 3 hours plus a gap plus go back maybe 10 minutes, so it'll be an extra hour, and that's it. Yeah.
That's good advice.
Yeah, and I was just gonna add, to me that's very, very true about I think that the first hour and a half or 2 hours are critical, are the ones where you are the most intuitive about everything, when you really find out the soul of the song, you really dissect it in a way, you do things you didn't even know. Very often when I'm mixing, I don't know what I have done. If I look into the settings, like, oh shit, I did that, but it's the most intuitive part of the mix, and where you put things together quickly and you don't care much about everything. It's like a circular process. I do things, I do drums, I put the vocal early on, I go back and then I continue with whatever, guitar, synths, this and that, other vocals, and then I go back to the drums, and then at the same time I'm tweaking the guitars. It's like, it's all at the same time. It's kind of like a chaotic kind of process, but it's very intuitive. After that, you can be mixing a song for days. One time I was mixing a song with a client that was very obsessive about things for a whole week, like 7 days. And I wanted to kill myself. Yeah. And I wanted to kill the client.
I'm glad you didn't.
And it didn't get us anywhere. And I very often I print the mixes. Even after 2 hours, I do a print. I have like a bounce. And I label them by a numerical system, like 2.1.
Yes.
So it's kind of like chronological, right? And I put like a description, version 1, and I go like basic levels or whatever,
Yes.
And very often after 7 days or even after a second day, you go back to the first day and go like, damn, that had more grit, more soul.
You lost
more
the magic.
punch,
Exactly.
more magic than anything else. So, yeah. And when it gets very, very complex, and you have been working on something for a long time, I don't know, somehow we know when to pull the brake, and you go like, shit, no, this is it. Now there's not much more I can do for the song, Yeah.
Very good
feeling.
Emotional rise, a lot of people say. When they feel that emotional buzz, like, oh, I connected with it, that's stop, because now you're going to fuck it up from there.
Too much work.
Your question?
Thank you. Hey, how you guys?
Good.
Thank you for being here.
You have good taste for music. I know.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Quick question. As a mixing engineer, producer, and a mastering engineer, at what point do you know... I'll give you an example. I've had situations where artists have sent me music to either mix or to help produce, and I find myself in a position where I have to let them know, hey, this needs to change. As much work as I can put into this, I can't fix that. Yeah. At what point do you know that you're giving the correct advice to an artist, or your taste is taking over and you are now advising someone on what you would have done? Because as a mix engineer, your job is to help amplify their vision.
Exactly.
I hope my question was clear.
It's a great question.
Thank you.
I like to do this exercise with the client the first time. You say, okay, build a playlist for me. What's your taste? What you like? And it's not about, let's copy somebody else's mixes. It's more about, okay, this song we're working right now is going to be eventually released. It's going to be on Spotify. If you build a Spotify playlist where you want your song to sit around those other songs and feel good, feel like cohesive, that you're sitting in the right place, but we want to beat those songs. We want to be a little bit better, but then we want to be on that space. Now we're building a taste reference. So we have a taste reference. So when I have a taste reference, now I understand what it's going for. Now, if his song is really off, I say, okay, now I listen what you like, you might want to consider to make those changes in order to fit on that space. I think you are on the wrong key, or you are like, you have a kick drum, you have too many layers, you have like too many things going on. So I'll do that, but I do starting to first understand what he really, really likes. And when he talks about music that he likes, I say, okay, I don't care if you like the mix of those songs. I care about what you feel, what you like, as a listener. So that's to me the key point at the beginning. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Is there anyone else with a different answer?
No, I was going to say, very often it's not, they don't, even when they give you examples, I do the same thing. Yeah. And they give you a playlist. Sometimes they actually just like a song, and they don't tell you originally, but they like a song for something very, very, very specific. And you have to be very careful with that, because you can also get like misled into something that's not what they truly want. But ultimately, the song that you are doing needs to have its own space and personality and all that. It has to stand by itself, right? And not be afraid to be compared to anything else. I remember Ed Cherney used to tell me, I assisted him along, when I started my career. Many people early on, even Sylvia. When I was a teen, I assisted Sylvia, barely 19, 20 years old. And I remember, the things that you have to be willing to die by the sword, right? You have to be willing to be compared to something that other people consider exceptional, and still not you feel like you're not cutting it. But you have to be able to be compared. You have to be able to, and the artist should do the same. Should be willing to confront the same kind of,
I understand. Luca, Rafa, thank you.
Thank you.
That's you.
Hi, my name is Cami Vega. What advice would you give to high school students like my friend and I to get more involved in the industry? And what resources would you recommend using, considering many schools don't have a direct music production program?
I guess I work with a lot of schools, Berklee College of Music, Full Sail. I get invited a lot out to these places and universities. And that's a question a lot of students ask me. They're like, what's going to happen when I get out of school, Mm-hmm. And right now we're in a very interesting transitional period with AI coming into the picture. Now we have Suno, we have Udio, we have got Merca AI, we've got 11 labs, and it kind of, I have a lot of friends right now who are anti-AI, and then I have friends that are pro-AI, right? But they're using it for different things, I have friends who are like Diplo, for instance, who's just taking stems into Suno, and he's using Suno Studio to just, hey, I'm not a great guitar player, I need a better guitar line, come up with something better, and then just enhance this project. He still wrote the track, but he's using AI just to help him in the parts that he's not so good at. So if it were me, I would start looking into that, because there's no going back. I think at this point, the argument can say that, and it's also things that they're starting to teach in universities. I'm seeing people using Claude and these other things where they can start to develop and make their own plugins, and getting into DSP programming and stuff like that, learning stuff like that, and it's I'm starting to see these different places where students can start to spread out. Because when I came out of college, I was just an artist touring. I didn't know that you could make money in commercials or in video games or in working in short films and all these other aspects in the industry, or making sounds for an electric car. I didn't know that you could do stuff like that.
Or even for water and stuff. I know that's a lot used in movies, footsteps.
Totally, Foley work too. Mm-hmm. I did tons of Foley work. I did tons of sound libraries. I worked with Sound Ideas. I worked with Hollywood effects. Some of the biggest Hollywood Edge. Yeah, I worked with some of the biggest sound effects companies developing sound libraries and stuff very early on, and now. It's I tell a lot of students, it's still do what you love. Don't lose the passion and the fire of what you still want to do. You'll find a way somehow. I never thought I'd ever make it in music. I always thought music was going to be just a side fun gig thing that I would do. I never thought that I would be, working with huge companies and doing crazy projects like designing the sounds for the Barnes & Noble tablets, or Porsche EMG calling me up, say, hey, we'd like you to design the sounds for our next car, and it's wild how I didn't think about all the applications that sound could be in, but sounds everywhere.
Neither did they till they came along.
So they came along.
It wasn't invented, probably.
But the technology's changing a lot, and I think it's a big question. I get a lot of students ask me, and it's a lot. It's because a lot of those traditional jobs, they're wondering, is that going to even be there when we get out of school? Am I going to be able to be an engineer? Am I going to be a producer? Or is that all going to be done? Is the record labels now going to just use AI generative music?
Especially since the whole technology is moving very quickly.
It's very quick.
Next thing you know, there's this whole new app for pictures and essays and stuff, and it's music, and especially for movies, because I first wanted to do movie stuff and production, but then I started to get into more music and stuff, and I think that it's very kind of hard to get into and make your way into that path.
And it's interesting. It's because now it's not good enough anymore just to release an album anymore. I think now we're living in the age where you actually have to be almost to be a content creator, where you're constantly on social media, persistently maybe it doesn't have to be like you have to be like an influencer or something, but if you're doing your art, like I think it's there's more to it. There's more components to it now, whether you like it or not. That's just where things are, and you either decide to be in the game or you're out of the game. And part of that is being involved with social media and pushing yourself as an artist or whatever your industry is, or whatever it is that you're into. I personally love just very left field, strange technology. I support a lot of strange developers, plugin instrument designers, people who are doing radical things that I think are very futuristic. And so I made my channels be all about that. It's like a safe place where people can go and check out cool stuff and be like, whoa, that was really inspiring. I don't know what I just witnessed, but that was really interesting. Whatever technology was being used in this 1 minute video, I've got to go check this thing out, you know?
But embrace it. You have to embrace everything, all that technology, all that tech. You have to understand it. Otherwise, it's going to kick your ass.
Because it's like a tool now.
Yeah.
It is. You know, I see my daughter, she's like 13, and she's using like CapCut, GarageBand, and all these things. And she's like in like what would have taken me like 14 hours to do in like, you know, Final Cut Pro, and like me having to import stuff in Logic and do all the things. She's just using voice memos. She's just using an iPhone to create all this content, and it looks like a full movie in like 2 minutes. And
I don't know if you guys know Steve Lacy. He made a lot of his music on BandLab on, I think it was like an iPhone 7.
Yeah.
So like very early on.
Very, very early on. I think the future is, I hate to say it, but it's heading in this direction. A lot of it is going to be.
Now vintage is going to be like an iPhone 3. Dude, I'm working on the iPhone 3. I got the vintage sound.
You got a legacy product here, you know?
Yes.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's good. All right, so I think we're going to wrap it here.
Yeah.
So I appreciate everybody here coming and listening, and great questions. And I want to thank these people. We get a big round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you.
These folks giving us sounds and music and making our lives better, giving us things that we're passionate about.